Hello folks, I'm Bill Wilson. I'm here with my good buddy Ken Hackathorn at his place in Idaho. We're going to go ahead and do some more of the questions that come in from the viewers in the comment section. Try to answer some of your questions. I've got one for you.
Okay.
I've got one for you.
Fire away.
All right. Gerald Williams asks, what is your practice ammo of choice in a pistol? And I already know the answer to this.
Yeah, it's called OPA, other people's ammo. That's my favorite. But for my own use, I reload. Most of us that are shooters do. I load 9mm. I'm a big fan of the 135 grain 9mm bullet. I got that kind of from you, and I think I think 9mm wise, it's a sweet spot as far as bullet weight. Yeah. And I either use extreme plated or Berry's, that truncated nose bullet that you design. I think they make it for you exclusively. Yes. My favorite bullet. And I load, I use range pickup brass. I mean, so whatever's available gets tumbled and cleaned. And I load it on 4.7 grains of CFE pistol. I use whatever primer I can possibly get. And I can't get any, so I'm quickly running out. But I typically load my own ammo, and I consume, I don't know, I don't keep count, but I can tell you probably 10,000 rounds a year I burn up. I've got my own range, so I shoot whenever I want. But so reloads, my own reloads are what I use primarily. I've got a pretty good stock of ammo, but I'm saving it like everybody else. I've cut down my round consumption, but my favorite is what's free. And those days aren't what they used to be. Okay, I got one for you, Bill. What is your favorite Beretta and why? And this is from Senamsky, whatever it is. Sounds like he's a Ruski. But anyway, what is your favorite Beretta and why? I assume he's talking about the 9mm 92. We're going to
I mean, of the 92 series, as you know, I've always been a big fan of the Centurion size gun. Yep. And one of our Centurion Tacticals is that I would have to say it would be my favorite. With a good action tune on it. It's hard to beat that gun right now. Yeah. So it's, with standard magazine, it's 15, 17 round, depending on which magazine you're using. And, easy to shoot. It's as all Beretta 92s are, soft shooting, easy to shoot. Yeah. But the Centurion Tactical, would be my pick.
Well, I got one from you, same way you're talking, and it Courage. I've had the guys at Mill Sparks make me a Bruce Nelson holster for it, and it's the Beretta I shoot the most. I got it out for some of the Ken's favorite guns things, and last night I was going nuts, so I can't find it. It's here somewhere. Yeah. I don't know where it's at. But it's the same thing. I think that Centurion would be my number one pick if we could only have one Beretta 92.
Yep. Sean White asks, what one gun you absolutely love, but everyone else dislikes?
Tokarev TT-33, a Russian service pistol, World War II. We shot it yesterday. I think they're cooler it can be. I mean, just neat guns. I like shooting. I've got a number of them. Good supply of ammo. And most people look down their nose at them. It's like, oh, this is kind of a crappy gun. But I like them. And you shot it, probably the first time you shot one. Yep. And aside, I said, well, they got a terrible grip angle. So you bring it up and pointing down. But once you learn that, I tell people grip angle is something you learn. If that's the only gun you could get is a Tokarev, you'd learn how to get the sights on the target. But bottom line is that's the gun. Most people don't care for them and look down their nose at them, and I really like it.
Well, they're pretty reliable, aren't they?
Probably one of the most reliable. Bottleneck cartridge, and as I showed you, it's designed so that fire control unit actually has, that's where the magazine lips are that control the feeding. So you can have a magazine with the lips distorted or cracked or whatever, it works fine.
Still works.
And you shot it, actually pretty accurate little pistol.
Oh, yeah.
Got a real crack to it.
It's got a little bit of a snap to it when you shoot it. But
it would be the TT-33 Tokarev, and probably the best of that family is the Yugoslavian model 57. It was kind of the last of the product, and it's a longer grip frame, and it's got one more round, 9-round magazine. The gun overall is the best one made, and they're actually somewhat available in the United States now. They brought a bunch of them in surplus here in the last decade or so they can be had at a reasonable price. Okay, I've got one for you. And this is from Tommy Williams. Which gun and suppressor are you running for your hogs today? What's your hog gun?
I guess technically the model I use is the Ranger. Anyway, it's our lightest weight 300 hammer carbine, and I've got a smoked carbon fiber buttstock on it to further reduce weight, because when you put a 30-ounce thermal scope on it, I mean,
it's heavy fast.
And then you put a 13 to 15-ounce suppressor on it, and next thing you know, you started out with a really light gun, and now you got a pretty heavy gun, and I don't like heavy guns, so I'm primarily hunting with, I'd say it'd be a Ranger model, 300 hammer with our Quill titanium suppressor, and I'm running a couple of different thermals now. I'm actually liking that reasonably new Burris BTS 50. I mean, it's one of the least expensive thermal scopes out there. It's small, it's lightweight, and it's decent, decent picture clarity. For the type of hunting I do, it works just fine.
Cool.
And it's about half the price of some of the premium stuff. Like a top of the line Pulsar, XP50 Thermion, for example. That's a $6,000 scope. Like we always say, you get what you pay for. It's optical picture in it is just phenomenal. But how good does it have to be? It's kind of one of those deals, But yeah, I'd say the Ranger model, with Quill's titanium suppressor and the lightweight buttstock, is kind of my package that I use all the time.
And 300 hammers.
And 300 hammer.
Cool.
Yeah.
Andy Bates.
Andy Bates is asking, what's your favorite Western movie?
The Wild Bunch. I mean, there's a lot of Western movies I like, but The Wild Bunch to me, if you're a gun guy, it was, Sam Peckinpah, and it starred some great actors, that it was just, to me, 1911 work in it, 97 Winchester. It kind of was set in the 1915, 1914 period in somewhat revolutionary Mexico. At that point in time, they used more blanks in that movie than any movie in history. At that point in time, it goes back into I think Wild Bunch is in 1960s later. I can't remember, but that's my favorite Western. So, some of the newer ones, for example, I think the one with Robert Duvall and Kevin Costner was called Open Range. As far as a really kind of an accurate portrayal, it's a great movie. Tombstone, I think, is one of my favorites. Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday made that movie.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, it's The Wild Bunch. I also always liked The Professionals with Lee Marvin, and but if you pick one, I could watch. I used to have a copy back when we had VCRs, and I would watch The Wild Bunch regularly with generally a couple of bottles of Corona, and so anyway, The Wild Bunch is my favorite Western.
Yeah, good choice.
Okay, I got one for you. Have you ever considered manufacturing a revolver? And this from D. Korski. Have you guys ever thought about making a revolver?
Not seriously. I mean, we got, our engineering resources are constantly stretched past the limit. And so it's always tough deciding on, okay, what are we going to put our effort into? Yeah. And we're actually, Cam and I just talked about this last week. We're gonna start changing our direction on what we do on engineering for new products, because we've been real bad about, having one or two big projects going, and then a whole bunch of smaller projects, and we put too much effort into the big ones and keep pushing these little ones back. Well, we're going to do them once we get the big project done. We'll do them when we get the big project done. We're going to kind of start focusing, given the small projects that you can get done reasonably quick and get the product on the market and ring the cash register with it, and just gradually work on the big projects and just eat them, eat the elephant one bite at a time.
A new Python adjustable rear sight.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
That's matter of fact, that is the product that brought up the conversation last week. It's like, when are we going to get this thing off paper and on the website for sale? Because all my guys have just been working on this big new gun project, and this, like, putting all of our effort into it, which is great, and we got to get it to the point of function firing samples so we can start doing testing.
Cool.
Then there's going to be a little bit of a window to do some other stuff, because we're going to have to do lots of testing. Kind of where I'm coming from, we got to. I think in the future they'll see more accessories come online faster than in the past. JB Real Talk. What's the most important lesson you've learned in life?
Ooh,
That's
I've
a tough one.
learned a lot of painful lessons.
Yeah.
The one I would say is probably most important is to try to be a good person. That covers a lot of ground, and Lord knows I've made some errors in that direction. I tell people, for example, probably the most important thing is to be as a good husband and a good father. And I quite honestly, in my first round a show to go, I screwed that up royal. And but if I had been working harder at being a good person, I wouldn't probably screwed that up so bad. So, and it's not easy. It really is not. It sounds kind of blasé. I'll be a better person. Well, it's easy to be an asshole, and it's easy to be selfish, and it's easy to be rude and all that stuff. So you really do have to work at stepping back and say, I want to be a good person. I want to be a better person. And I won't kid you, for me, it's a struggle. I have to work at it all the time. And if you were to talk to my wife, she'd say I'm a miserable failure at that too. But no, try to be a good person. Generally, I think it'll pay off for everybody.
Yeah, great answer.
This last question, I think applies to both of us. I mean, it kind of directed. So let's put it. I'll let you tell the version of it, and that's Luo Spanderbeck, whatever. Spanderbeck.
I don't know how you pronounce that.
Spanderbeck, I'm going to say. What was your first impression you had of each other when you met? Okay, I'll let you go first. When we met, I remember the particular time frame, but what you first met me, what was your impression?
Well, first off, I was just in awe of being in the presence of the Ken Hackathorn. I'm just a hick from Arkansas. At that time, you had the Ken Hackathorns and the Ray Chapmans and the Leonard Knights and all these guys that were my hero, that have, shot at all these big tournaments and won matches, and the leading edge on a new practical shooting sport that was coming on board and everything. And I was just kind of like, the little puppy, I'm standing here, I'm talking to the Ken Hackathorn, because I met you and, like Leonard Knight and several of the legends at the same time, all at the 78 Midwest Championship. Yeah. And so that was pretty cool. I think Ray Chapman was the only big name guy that I'd previously met, prior to that day. So that was my first impression of Ken Hackathorn.
Well, when I met you, Dick Thomas, our buddy Dick Thomas, had told me about you. He said, there's a kid from Arkansas comes up and shooting was the Midwest Practical Pistol League, Mipple. And he told me, he said, this kid is on fire. And so when I met you, I remember people don't realize if people were to see pictures of you, and I'm sure they will at some point on some of these things, you had long hair. You looked kind of like a page boy, which was kind of the fashion back then. You had this long hair, and you were a little skinnier than you are now. And I was like, who in the heck is this? And you had a shooting technique you still have that was different than everybody else. Everybody back then was striving to get, the Weaver stance and all that stuff. And you gripped the gun different than everybody else. Every time you shot, your finger flies out of the trigger guard. I was watching him, I remember thinking, what in the world is that guy doing? Until we saw your targets. And I was like, holy cow. He's doing everything wrong, but he's kicking our butts. What in the world? Where'd this guy come from? And then I find out this is Bill Wilson. And we get to talking, and we hit it off. It's kind of interesting. Immediately, we hit it off, And it was funny, we became pretty good friends from that point on. Yeah, but I remember initially thinking, where'd this guy come from? We both changed a bit.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Yeah, that was a great event because, we came out of it with you, first acquaintance with you and Bill Rogers and John Sale and, people I've been friends with now ever since 1978,
Bill, I tell people that over the years of the gun culture and the shooting community, the competitive world, we've both been blessed to meet a lot of really good people.
Absolutely.
Now, there's been a few bozos in there, but for the most part, almost all the people that we've met and kind of formed some friendships with are welcome in our home at any time. They're that kind of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it has been an interesting journey, and we've been blessed to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I look back at the early days. I mean, we did stuff that if you told people about today, they'd lose their minds. Tell people about something like, say, the Cooper Assault Course, which nobody does anymore. It's incredibly dangerous. But the things like that, from a gun safety standpoint today, people would be appalled. And then there were some characters in your buddy Blackard, for example.
Oh yeah, he was a character.
Oh yeah, we had guys that you just kind of, if you told people today about those guys, they go, how did they go to jail? No, they didn't, because it was a different time in America. But the Blackard bombs, this guy was he was famous for those things. He would make black powder bombs and stuff that is just, anyway, it's been an interesting time, and I think we both look at it as being blessed. I think as part of being part of the gun culture, we probably were involved in the golden era as far as what was available.
Absolutely, yeah.
It has changed, but.
Well, I think that's all the questions we got for this.
Yeah, listen, folks. If you've got comments, questions, something you'd like to see down the road, we'll address them as time provides the availability to do it. But press that subscribe button, post your comments, and stay safe. We will see you down the road.